scheduled for 2024, Paris. All travel to and from and participation here levitates Paris from French soil these weeks into an international and friendly territory for the meeting of skills, minds, and cultures to greater effect. That means that Oli House, not only safe and sacred, is the actual inner sanctum of Olympism in action. It is not only home away from home for the 100,000 living Olympians who may alight here, it is their workshop for advancing Olympic ideals as they each burnish their sport legacies to inspire subsequent generations. The Foundation is most grateful to WOA and knows that this is the place for stepping up the movement's electric flow and transmission well past the games. Now I'd like to welcome Joel Bouzeau to the stage, the President of the World Olympians Association, to greet you. Joel.
Thank you so much. We are absolutely happy to welcome you because we have so many values in common. So welcome to Oli House, the House of the Olympians, the House of the Olympians of all ethnic groups, of all religions, all sports, all countries in the world. An Olympian is much more than a champion. An Olympian is a champion who has dedicated at least 10-12 years of his life to perform. And these skills have to be recognized in society. That's why we have a Holy House where we celebrate Olympians, where we help them in society to get their place, especially after the career. But Olympian is much more than that. The Olympians have reached all cultures by participating at international sports. They have lived together in the Olympic Village. They embrace all humanity, and therefore they are also ambassadors of peace, and they are very sensitive when we talk to Truce. And here we have two remarkable Olympians. Some days ago we had a ceremony here celebrating Olympians for life, because some Olympians have been incredibly performing in sport, but also in society. And Tegla is here, Anita also, and Tegla is one of the Olympians for life also. Some days ago we celebrated both Jesse Owens and Vuz Long, who are also Olympians for life. So that's what I wanted to say when I welcome you. So thank you for what you do. It's a pleasure to have all of you here, and especially our remarkable Olympians. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. Those inspiring words. And we'd like to recognize the Secretary General of the World Olympians Association with us, Anthony Lagarde. Thank you for all your service. Thanks go to this event's sponsor, Hitachi Vantara. Although we might regard the Olympic truce as something between governments, it starts within each of us. There is an example set of our purposeful togetherness at each Games of the Olympiad, and the free flow of people, ideas, and commerce benefits in drawing from it. Business is included. And in a very impressive way, so does our sponsor. Hitachi Vantara leads in enabling togetherness through its successes and its visions for technologies bettering the world. And I want to give special thanks to the Business Council for International Understanding, which has facilitated public-private partnerships and people-to-people ties since it was formed by President Eisenhower in the White House in 1955. U.S. ambassadors, ministers, and heads of state around the world work closely with BCIU to bring like-minded institutions together for productive ends, and their role becomes more important each year. The Olympics excels because its volunteers excel. The Truce Foundation offers special gratitude to its volunteers, chief of whom is its creative team, led inspiringly by Mr. Colin Gerdica, our poet laureate, whose creative altitude is known as the poetosphere. There are so many important and impressive Olympians and their supporters and members of the Olympic family present here, and I hesitate to identify anyone for missing others, but you're all most welcome, and we're so grateful for your participation. I'd also, however, do need to mention the family of one of the most recent Olympians. Last week, U.S. Drew Kibler took the silver in the 4x200 freestyle relay, and we'd like to welcome their family here today. Congratulations. Okay. Sport is about more than sport. Today, thanks to the Olympic Truce, we are together here safely and securely, our national, military, political ambitions notwithstanding. As we have brought ourselves to sport and culture, in turn, they bring us together this afternoon. In the words of the modern Olympic visionary Pierre de Coubertin in 1894, our shared impulse for gathering is for building a better and more peaceful world through sport and culture. For such a world, I initiated in 1993 the United Nations revival of the ancient Olympic truce for our modern era. This was to expressly affirm that although rivals all could convene and compete on neutral ground of the Games. The Truce Foundation since 2004 has been the world's leading civil society organization for the Olympic truce and has held many award ceremonies of today's sorts during the Games. The Paris 2024 award ceremony was a cultural element of global proportions. Afterward, the first postcard I sent from Paris read, "The 2024 Olympics, come rain or send." A rainy river parade precipitated the 15 days of sporting fervor now underway. Whether on the splashy sand or on its rain-soaked banks, all of us at Friday's Olympic opening ceremony experienced the cultural baptism. It was a French-drenched showcase in equal measure, sacred and profane. Games wide open, but of course. Confident of its third hosting of the Games since 1900, the City of Love is exposing more of its ventricles than usual to us non-French. For the duration, I plan to explore all chambers and blood flows, both red and blue, and the white light through the mist is the Olympic flame, illuminating this wondrous place. Paris's host cauldron is fueled by the Olympic ideals, and its landmark venues glorify athletes and sport. Now, this is where I must issue a parental warning. The Olympics are not about sport. They are about educating the youth of the world through sport and culture. De Coubertin himself was an educator. His vision convenes all to compete together, live together, and thereafter cooperate together. The word together now rounds out the Olympic motto, faster, higher, stronger, together. This has been the purpose of the Olympic Truce and Olympism since 776 BC, respecting our shared humanity through cultural interactions for a better world. Yes, the power of participating together precedes the power of glory. Actually, only a few large countries relish the medal-eating contest. For those 95% of countries rarely on the podium, the national medal counts are neither the appeal nor the takeaway. Instead, the non-winning countries, as do the non-French, come to Paris for something more, to see and to be seen. People-to-people interactions help us understand each other. This makes it more possible to live side by side rather than in spite or disdain. Olympic education, be it through sport or culture, is a hands-on activity. That is why our program today lauds Ms. Tegla LaRupe and President Thomas Bach through cultural offering, the type that preserved ancient Olympic episodes and ideals for de Coubertin and others, specifically sculpture and poetry. This is how we know of the ancient times. As for sculpture, the Truce Commission commissioned two large monuments landmarking the Olympic Truce. They are at the Olympic Museum Sculpture Gardens in Lausanne and at the U.S. Olympic Center in Colorado Springs. There's a picture of one on your program. For us here today, we note that the awardees' trophies are sculptures from the genre of found art, the art discernible in everyday objects, in this case, the discus. The discus for each is of unknown origin or level of use. I have to admit, I bought them on eBay on purpose. It reminds us of the ancient sacred discus on which was inscribed the terms of the Olympic Truce. The United Nations in 1993 found that art an aesthetic of sport and culture. Then there is poetry, by which we know the ancient times. Discoveries of the ancient poet Pindar, among other ancient writings, further informed the modern movement. Poetry does what poetry must. It speaks for itself through the sensitive antenna and pen of the Foundation's own poet laureates. The following gift of poetry is dedicated to the memory of our dear colleague in sport and spirit, Mr. Fikru Kidani. Fikru served the IOC and humanity through a career of creativity and advocacy of the Olympic Truce. And I believe he said, "Work is my sport." Before there were 5 rings, anthems, laurel wreath, there was nature, whose ever-present impulses in those times suggested truthfulness as a means for a better world. I direct you to the screen.